welcome to the Mani and Fariha show. This is Mani and I am Fariha.
Hello everybody and Happy New Year. Of course, I hope everybody has entered 2018. Nobody's left behind. Just checking on everybody.
Well, apart from those time travelers that we sometimes encounter, right?
Absolutely. So, and we always, welcome you to 2018. And of course, every time, I see the Facebook, there's always, everybody's talking about the resolutions and
oh my
who
gosh,
has this resolutions
I have had enough of this. I do not make resolutions. I actually do not believe in time as passing. It is a created concept because human beings need forms to measure. So days go by, time goes by, minutes go by, and years go by.
Yes.
But what is the actual construct of it, right?
Yes, and we talked about it last time.
A little bit. We touched upon it.
Absolutely.
But today I am so excited to be conversing with you because we have quite the philosophical, intellectual thinker. And Mani, we at one point it was all about IQ, right? Like the intellectual quotient. And then it went to EQ, and we talked a lot about emotional intelligence.
Yes.
And the topic of discussion today is actually heart intelligence. And I love this subject. I've actually researched the Heart Institute.
Heart Math.
Yes, Heart Math Institute. Thank you. Thank you so much. And also like the vibrational frequency of our heart, the way it extends. It has a lot more neuroconnectors than even our brain. And the way that our heart thinks is actually very different from our brain.
Yes.
So we will get into that topic of conversation with Gabriel Iqbal. Welcome to our show.
Welcome to our show.
Delighted to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. So it has been, we've been following you for quite some time.
I know
to be on our show.
So thank you for accepting our invitation.
I just mentioned that it takes two to tango. Well, maybe three to tango.
There you go.
In our case here, but this is my second time with you guys, and
yes,
really
previously you were on our radio show, and now as we've progressed onto TV, everyone gets to see how handsome Mr. Iqbal is as well as the collection of books that he's written.
You should tell that to my wife.
Oh my gosh!
Absolutely.
Well, that's why she married you, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, she knows. So tell us, our audience, starting off, what is heart intelligence in the language that we all can understand?
First of all, there is no set definition.
Yes.
The definitions are organized, and heart intelligence is so profound that it's almost shocking to understand that real perception is very limited as it is from our five senses. But they're processed in the brain, in different parts of the brain. However, cognition, as in perception, how do we perceive reality, generally happens among humans in the frontal lobe, the front part of the brain, which is the most evolved part. However, within the last 7 to 10 years, neuroscientists, cardiologists, endocrinologists, they've gotten together to actually understand where is cognition actually happening.
And
how
actually,
can we measure
I believe
it?
a new discipline has been created, like neurocardiologists as well.
Now it's neuroendocardiology. So there are three. And on top of that, I don't even think we'll have time for that. It's the quantum biological aspect of it, which is far more sophisticated. We are just at the primary stages. The science backs it up. I mean, my daughter today told me, "Dad, where are you going again?" Says, I have a presentation. Because I keep on traveling all the time for presentations. She told me, "The science is clear in your book. Why don't you ask them to read the book?" I told her, "Honey, if it was as simple as that, then everybody would get it."
Yes.
So it is important to share it, especially through media. You guys are doing a lot of good work. I've been following you up on social media. So it's important to disseminate the information in a more palatable way where people can actually understand using at least some level of science.
Yeah.
I have tons of science backing it up,
Yes.
but at least the comprehensive aspect I will share with you today.
Excellent, thank you. And thank you for your compliment and for following us. You know what? I believe that at a certain time it was all about empirical evidence. And as I have a number of friends who are evolving more and more towards spirituality, the empirical evidence aspect of it is becoming a little bit less. And I'm actually happy to experience that, because oftentimes there's things that we can believe but not necessarily see. But human beings historically have only believed it if they could see it. And yet there is so much more out there, and the fact that it's scientifically evidenced is just, all the more so there for all types, those who believe and those who want the empirical evidence.
Well, first of all, I want to get rid of the aspect of belief, because belief to me as a scientist is an insecure phenomenon. Belief is for phenomena that is taken as per faith. And I don't want to challenge the archetypes of faith, although I do shy away from them quite a bit because they have misrepresented it. Faith
so it
is
sounds
important.
more like, more than belief, it's a knowing.
Gnosis.
Yeah.
So if I use the word gnosis, the ancient Greeks called it metanoia. Meta means more than the obvious or beyond, or it even means change, as in metamorphosis. The Kabbalists had a different view of it among the Jewish theology. Then you had tasawwuf among the Muslims, which is totally ostracized with orthodoxy. Among the Christians, you had people like Meister Eckhart and William Blake. They were talking about gnosis. So the whole idea of experiential knowledge far outweighs the little notion of belief. So when people sometimes ask me as a scientist, do you believe in the thing, whatever we call it, God or Allah, Elohim, Bhagwan, it's immaterial. It doesn't mean anything. As soon as you canonize it, you have actually lost the idea, because it's about experiencing it. So to experience the divine creative energy in the universe, or whatever you might want to call it, is far more scientific, pragmatic, experiential, rather than the notion of belief, which is somebody else's word, which you have to accept. But you always doubt it. But you have an experience of something, empirical as well as direct. So as I mentioned, it is even been called, by Buddha called it satori. It's in Zen Buddhism. It's also called samadhi in the Rig Veda. So different traditions have called it different things. But I like Carl Jung's definition, the Swiss psychiatrist. He's one of my favorites. So in analytical psychology, he shuns away from the idea of belief. And it was one of the most profound writings I read about experiential gnosis, as opposed to the idea of belief. I do not want to undermine people who have beliefs, but it's a work in progress, though.
Yeah, for sure. And as you were sharing with us prior to us beginning the show, that you have actually put in like 25 years of research into all of this.
Well, my research started as a biologist, then moving into history of science. My post-graduation at Leeds University was in that field.
So Leeds in the UK?
In the UK. And my main intuitive drive as a scientist was evolution. Evolution is one of the most fascinating aspects in science, and we have so much evidence. We even have evidence from molecular biology lately, which is completely clear. It is not a theory. And then when I read the actual erstwhile primary original source references of all the wisdom, traditions, and faiths of the world, word for word, there is no controversy. The controversy comes from no. Actually, the first person to even explain evolution scientifically was Al-Jahiz in 9th century in Morocco. And the book is called Kitab al-Haywanat, which is the
And
book
he
of
predates
animals,
Darwin?
by close to 900 years.
Amazing.
And the book was actually copied by Darwin's grandfather, who was surgeon to the royalty in England.
Yeah.
In the early half of the 18th century. And Erasmus Darwin actually wrote a book called Zoonomia, which I have read. And he mentions Al-Jahiz's significant contribution in his 7-volume Book of Animals. And he explains that in there, and it says in the religious texts of all faiths, including the Torah, the Injil, the Bible, the Rig Veda, the Talmud from the Hebrew traditions, which I study because they are actually precursors to science. But we have this compartmental fight against religion, rightly so, because the theologians have completely destroyed it. Their interpretations are charlatan.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry to use that term because it's a male-dominated perspective on fundamentalistic interpretation. So if I may quote directly,
that patriarchy has played a big part of this.
Because it is based on a handicap that men have evolved with.
Yeah.
That handicap is known as the fight, fright, flight response in the human limbic system of the brain, and moreover the reptilian part of the brain. And the male brain is still far more stuck there. And that has transpired into religion, into even the science, which has become so atheistic, fundamentalistic science.
Very rigid.
Richard Dawkins comes to my mind, and so on and so forth. I read their books and I enjoy what they write, but I part right at the last moment where they attribute the world as a machine, and then everything is random and chance. It is not. It is the very thing that there is design and there is artistry in nature is proof enough. For as a scientist. So just to mention that the aspect of life being created from water and then moving into mineral and then vegetative, which is plant life, and eventually to animal and then to human, literally phase by phase is mentioned in all the faith texts of this world, but that has been completely shunned away. And the idea of Adam and Eve, those are allegorical stories for people to comprehend in a kind of metaphorical perspective. They are aphorismic in nature, but you wouldn't be able to make people understand 2,000 years ago such scientific phenomena.
So
now
you're
we
saying
have
it's more
it.
Analogous.
Exactly. So those are analogies. It's something so that we could comprehend in our earlier form of a non-scientific world where people would understand stories and metaphors. Like children, we put them to sleep every night. We tell them a nice, cute story, and they enjoy
But the main thing is the moral of the story, not like Jack and the Beanstalk, but the moral.
Yeah, I mean, Joseph Campbell is powerful in that area.
He's amazing.
He's fascinating. The power of myth, he calls it.
Yes.
So not the literal myth, the metaphor of the myth is far more important.
So a couple of things that come to mind, like for myself, learning about evolution, it was always Darwin going to the Galapagos Islands and then observing the animals on that island, but it actually predates to earlier times, and very much so
Lamarck
what you said.
also did a lot of work in Alfred Russel Wallace also did a lot of work in this. But Darwin's amazing. Not many people have actually read the book called On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection. That's the full title. I've read it multiple times. It was part of one of my theses at university. And my professor, Dr. Ray McNeil Alexander, who's a world-renowned expert in biomechanics, I supplemented this data to him that Darwin had borrowed from his granddad, and unfortunately he had not mentioned even his grandfather. Not to mention
That's why we have citations these days, you know, no more plagiarism.
Now, that was my undergrad thesis, and luckily Ray McNeill Alexander was such a profound scientist that he wrote on my thesis, "I'm pleased to have this information that I didn't know of." I mean, he was like he was a scientific icon when I was at the university there. He looks like Darwin, actually. He's a British chap, and I venerated him for a long time. And but the first time I met him, there is a lecture hall filled with close to 300 students, and for 2 minutes he doesn't say anything. He's just looking at us, and it was exhausted to stay silent. And then he eventually says, "Tell me something new." It just went like a nail into my heart, and since that, I just go and find out new stuff. I'm not satisfied with status quo in any field, and that's true science.
It really is. It is looking over and above and beyond. So when we return shortly after this break, we will continue our conversation with the very fascinating Gabriel Iqbal.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
अपने प्यारों को बुलाइए कनाडा में बसाइए ICC इमिग्रेशन मुस्तकबिल सवारे आसानी के साथ ICC के साथ
ICC इमिग्रेशन की RD, MD और उनकी प्रोफेशनल टीम हेड ऑफिस मिसिसागा से आपको सर्व कर रही हैं। बिजनेस वीजा, स्टूडेंट वीजा, वर्क परमिट, स्पॉन्सरशिप या किसी भी अप्रूव कैटेगरी में आप अपने प्यारों को कनाडा बुलाना चाहते हैं तो अभी कॉल कर लें 905-461-2424। It's 905-461-2424।
ICC इमिग्रेशन।
जब भी बात होती है कार एक्सीडेंट की तो हम तलाश करते हैं एक लॉयर को और हमारे पास मौजूद हैं डेविड हेमोफार।
Yes, thank you. I'm David Himmelfarb. I have over 30 years experience in personal injury matters. We have a downtown Toronto location with over 22 lawyers to service you. And we speak your language, Urdu, Punjabi and Hindi. We have a great community liaison, Anjum Qureshi.
आप हमें कॉल कर सकते हैं 416-570-0157।
Knowledge, integrity, experience, and service. These are really the elements you are looking for in a good financial professional. Whether it is life and critical insurance to protect your family and business, retirement savings to live comfortably, education savings to educate your children, group health benefits to safeguard your employees, or travel and super visa insurance for your friends and family. That's what Zaid Syed of Arouge Financial brings to your table. Call him at 905-624-0008 or visit arougefinancial.com.
आपकी पसंद और कढ़ाई पॉइंट की पेशकश टोरंटो में बैठकर कराची हाईवे और लाहौर लक्ष्मी चौक की चिकन, लैम या व्हील की कढ़ाई को एंजॉय कीजिए। कढ़ाई पॉइंट नाउ सेकंड लोकेशन फिंच एंड वेस्टन। रवायती जायके कढ़ाई पॉइंट।
क्या जमाना आ गया है, न मोहब्बत रही न चीजों में लज्जत।
हाँ बाबूजी,
सब कुछ बदल गया।
दुरुस्त।
बस ये नहीं बदला केक रस बचपन में छीन छीन कर खाता था। माशाल्लाह वही खूबी वही लज्जत। बरखुरदार
लीजिए, हाजिर है केसीबी केक रस्क। शुरू से अब तक एक सी लज्जत।
केसीबी केक रस्क।
More shopping?
Yes, for my home.
Welcome to Pan Am Blinds Limited. My name is Bobby, and I would like to introduce our very newest product. It is only with us with Pan Am Blinds in improved.
It's combination of
and silver shades, so Venus shades, or Shangri-La shades. So it's a very unique and new product in different color. It's an energy saver. You can save your 85% energy, and also it has child safety features over here. If you see here, if it goes down, it will open itself, and you will see through from this, but ultraviolet rays controlled. No UV light will come in, and you can see out and people, they can see very slightly. Please come to our store and see how many beautiful colors we do have and enjoy your comfort of life.
कैनेडियन मुस्लिम फोरम के ज़ेर एहतमाम 6 जनवरी बरोज हफ्ता शाम 6 बजे सवागत बैंक्वेट हॉल 6991 मिल क्रीक ड्राइव मिसिसागा में तीसरी सालाना ईद मिलादुन्नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम कॉन्फ्रेंस मुनक्किद की जा रही है, जिसमें आलम इस्लाम के अजीम नात खां सैयद सबीउद्दीन रहमानी नाते रसूल मकबूल सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम का नजराना पेश करेंगे। खवातीन के लिए अलहदा नशिस्तों का इंतजाम किया गया है। प्रोग्राम में दाखिला और पार्किंग फ्री है। प्रोग्राम के इख्तिताम पर लंगर का भी एहतमाम किया गया है। मजीद मालूमात के लिए शाहिद मुगल साहब से 416-464-0426 या मोहम्मद कामिल साहब से 416-577-8946 416-577-8946 पर राब्ता कीजिए।
अब हासिल करें रियल एस्टेट प्री कंस्ट्रक्शन की एक्सक्लूसिव डील्स अर्बन रियल्टी पॉइंट ब्रोकरेज के साथ, जैसे एम सिटी कॉन्डोज डाउनटाउन मिसिसागा का लाइफस्टाइल एंड ट्रांजिट सिटी कॉन्डोज एट डाउनटाउन वॉन, जहां से है टीटीसी सबवे की डायरेक्ट एक्सेस, डिटैच्ड होम और फ्री होल्ड टाउन हाउसेस की एक्सक्लूसिव डील्स और रीसेल्स के लिए अभी कॉल करें मोस्ट ऑनेस्ट एंड एक्सपीरियंस रियल्टर्स अरसलान बेग एट 416-779-6047 और इशरत लाइक एट 416-707-1864.
The law professionals at TM Law, providing professional services in the GTA in the areas of civil litigation, criminal defense, family matters, and real estate, serving the community in English, Punjabi, Hindi, and Urdu. For more information, call Tahir Majid, barrister and solicitor, at 647-838-4773, or you can visit tahirlaw.ca.
Welcome back, everyone. So, Mani, we had said that we would be talking about heart intelligence, but Gabriel is such a fascinating man that our conversation kind of gears everywhere.
Absolutely. And it's always amazing, you know, when I start talking to Gabriel, you know, I can just hear him talk like hours, and I'm just like,
we never get bored.
Exactly. I never get bored, you know. He's amazing, amazing person. So getting back to heart intelligence, and my question was, what exactly is heart intelligence and what's the paradigm shift? And I really want to know, you know, on like very, like my level, you know, because I'm a very evidence-based person.
Exactly. Let's just get to the science of it.
Exactly. Okay, science of it.
As is the case in cardiology and neurology and even endocrinology, these three divisions coming up together as a collective team, especially in the Institute of Heart Math in California. There's close to, I believe, 70 PhDs working on this, and I am researching this subject for the last 10 years. And this book has close to around 300 references at the back, which are empirically peer-reviewed in top journals of the world, BMJ as well as AMJ, American Medical Journal, and BMJ. So I'm going to give you like 5 salient features, and then we'll probably dive into it directly. I have diagrams in the book to elucidate the actual scientific evidence of how, what does it mean to be heart intelligence, and what's cognition, where is perception actually happening, more than the 5 senses and the frontal lobe perceiving reality, or the visual cortex at the back of the brain perceiving what is called 400 to 700 nanometers of visual perception, which is again very limited, these 5 senses.
Right.
So the real perception, what we would call consciousness, and I say the word elaborately because nobody knows what it is. It has not
even though it's
been
used
described.
quite frequently.
It is used, and it keeps me up late hours.
It keeps you conscious.
It keeps me conscious, and the world goes around it. But now we are trying to getting more towards the idea that consciousness is actually a phenomena that is linked to the heart as opposed to the brain, and that's what I'm going to delve into directly.
Yeah.
So the first thing that we have found with all the scientific evidence using cardiac encephalograms and cardiac EEGs and ECGs, which is equipment used to monitor heartbeats, systolic, diastolic, the way the heart operates. And we now know that the heart is actually emitting an electromagnetic field, and we can measure it. We can measure it 360 degrees around the body. It is not an esoteric woo-woo phenomena.
Yeah.
It cannot be dismissed because we know how far it is currently with our equipment that we have, 3 to 4 feet currently.
Oh, really?
But some scientists
I read
believe
somewhere
it
like
is
9 meters.
even more, even more. But according to quantum biologists,
yes.
We now know that it is connected to everything. So I hold my case there, but at least the one that we currently can measure is empirical, evidence-based, 3 to 4 feet, if not more.
Yeah.
I'm just being conservative still,
Yeah.
and empirical. And again, the second most important thing is the connection between the brain and the heart is a nerve, which is the information center of the brain. It's called the vagus nerve. So it's the information superhighway of the body. It connects the heart directly to the brain. The thalamus, the hypothalamus, and eventually the pituitary gland, which is actually known as the most powerful gland in the body. Again, this gland has been not studied properly because of a Newtonian understanding of a mechanistic body. The pineal gland is supposed to be the gland that secretes opiates, melatonin, serotonin, and also DMT. DMT is far more superior, and it actually heals. When we go to sleep, it just stops the pineal gland. So it's also linked to the heart, which I'm going to come to now. So it's the heart that actually kicks off well-being in the body by exciting the pineal gland. And how that happens is wired using an electromagnetic energy. I'll save the esoteric, I will say the spiritual part later. Let's talk about the science. So what do we know? So this vagus nerve is connected between the heart and the brain. And the heart is sending, first of all, more signals to the brain than the other way around. That is clear. Right. We know that. It's not that the brain is telling the heart, okay, now you're going to beat so many times per hour. Now you're going to pump blood. That is just one of the functions of the heart, pumping blood. Far more importantly, the heart has I have to use my hands. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
His own,
so there are 4 chambers in the heart. The atriums are on the top, right and left. Ventricles are at the bottom. It's a conical shape. The left ventricle is slightly enlarged. So the right atrium, just behind the 2 atria, are a particular bundle of cells. They are called the intrinsic cardiac ganglia. Now, ganglia is a nerve bundle. Yeah. We never thought that we would find them in the heart. So lo and behold, according to research, we found them 5 to 7 years ago. So we thought, okay,
that's
this is
very
just
recent. In the whole
history of science, it's fairly recent. I mean, I talked to cardiologists; they haven't read it. It's not in the Gray's Anatomy as yet. Papers have entered BMJ and AMJ, the top peer-reviewed journals, medical journals. Still, because we have this view of the body as a machine, because the whole Newtonian view of the world as a machine, again, hijacks this. We do not want to mix it with anything to do with consciousness, which they shy away to explain. So let's just get into the real thing. So the ganglia, first of all, these nerve bundles, they have been, first of all, they're scattered around, but they bundle around more over towards the atria, especially the right atria. In front of the right atria is there are 2 centers. It's called the atrioventricular node and sino-intraventricular node. They're just sitting like that. And when we are in the wombs of our mothers at 4 weeks, the first electrical spark kicks in out of nowhere. And me as a scientist, I have lost a lot of time to investigate. I cannot take it as gospel truth. I need to find out how. Why not? But when we talk to medical experts, they say we don't want to know This is nothing to do with science. It just happens.
It just happens.
Excuse me. My argument is: are you a real scientist or are you a machine? Because scientists are supposed to ask questions.
Absolutely.
You're not a program which says I can't compute. You have to find out. At least keep the window open of empiricism, of experimental evidence. So at 4 weeks it kicks in, and I'll go to the spiritual part later, the way the spiritual texts explain it. Not that I go with them entirely, but they are a precursor to go and investigate scientifically. So as far as I'm concerned, there is no rift between the spiritual aspect and the scientific aspect. So why don't we investigate that? Okay, currently we don't know. It happens out of nowhere. When we die, it's exactly where the spark stops. And that spark creates a cascade of sparks between the sinoventricular node and the atrioventricular node, and it shoots off an electrical impulse which gets the body alive.
Yeah.
Or
dead.
Or dead in the case when you stop. So that is how it starts.
Yes.
That kicks off consciousness. And the ganglia, they are 10 times larger than any ganglia in the brain.
Amazing.
10 times larger, if not more. Now, it's not just the
quick
science.
Question about that. So oftentimes when we're sad or mourning, I know in my own experience, exactly, it is a physical pain in the heart.
As it's weighing on your chest, so to speak.
And it must be that consciousness, like, is it the ganglia sending off those signals?
Yes, rightly stated. So what's happening in the intrinsic cardiac ganglia is you're trying to cognate information. Bereavement, sorrow, pain, happiness, laughter, whatever it is, on either ends of the spectrum, emotional information especially. So we are actually hardwired for empathy. Let me explain why. So this the vagus nerve, which is connecting the heart to the brain, is also connected to the optic nerve. Now, optic nerve is massive. It's other than the vagus nerve, it's the other nerve which is almost the size of my finger. Okay, it's very thick, and it goes. If I enlarge it, we have to see relative size. So the optic nerve is coming out. It's connecting to the retina, and the retina is nothing. It's just like a machine, to be honest. The image is inverting at the back because of the convex nature of the eye. At the back of the retina, it's processing the information and taking it up. It's just spectrum of light, 400 to 700 nanometer in color. There is much more. Different animals perceive it differently, but we have that limited perception. It goes into the visual cortex. But again, the way the heart is interpreting this in the brain makes the big difference. This is where meditation comes, the prayer, the fasting, the symbolism of ritual now has an actual biological connotation. It is not just to please some buddy up there who's not interested. Come on, I mean, somebody who creates this universe is interested in your rituals. Give me a break. It is good for you. Now, then the bigotry of religiosity is then we compete whose rituals are better.
It's ridiculous.
So problematic. And meditation is great. Ritual is great. Do it, to excite your consciousness. To create what is called heart opening, I call it.
Well, also what you had mentioned previously, that everything that we see is interpreted basically by our brain, and how the brain is linked to the pituitary, which releases the serotonin. Because oftentimes
pineal
when we see, pineal gland. When we see something that we like, or we see someone doing a good deed, or just something fabulous or beautiful, it is the serotonin which is released, and we just naturally feel good.
I just want to really go deeply into that, because what's actually happening in the eye, the evolution of the human eye biologically is very fascinating. How did it evolve? And human beings see, animals see prior to that, when we were in our early primitive evolutionary stages, we couldn't. So where did this eye come from? Now, if you look at the eye has a particular aspect to it in the optic nerve. Whenever you see somebody in pain, let's say I prick a needle into my hand, you're going to immediately feel a nerve response, no matter what your denomination, culture, perception, even if, God forbid, you're a psychopath. You will feel that, although you might hijack that emotion because of your negative training in case of a psychopath whose brains are damaged. However, you will feel that, okay? Now, that is going through the relay neuron and telling your brain, help the person.
Right.
We are hardwired for empathy, biologically.
And altruism as well, it sounds like.
Altruism, it's hardwired, but because of our Stone Age mentality of might is right, and wrongly attributed again to Darwin, evolution of the fittest, survival of the fittest. It is not so. If you read his book on the origin of species by means of natural selection, he actually uses that term just a couple of times. Moreover, he is talking about empathy.
Is more, it's not the survival of the fittest as in strength, but the one that is the most adaptable to his or her environment and change.
To change. Now, what he means by adaptation and change, which he took from Al-Jahiz clearly, it's called the web of intricacies and interdependencies. The way Jahiz describes it, he says, can't you see how cooperation works in evolution? How animals, there is a niche established and there is a balance in every niche. That they don't take more than what they need. They will not overdo, that there is a balance. You know, I think the movie Lion King explains that.
Absolutely, the circle of life, right?
The circle of life, yeah. So those were two aspects. There's a couple more, and because I can, I'm just, keeping an eye on the time. We have, the heart has 40 to 60 times more electrical energy than the brain, and it sends 5,000 times more magnetic. The magnetic field of the heart is 5,000 times more stronger than the entire brain. So what this research has also shown on top of all this evidence, which is measurable for people in the scientific age to understand it, not only perception, consciousness, but hormone called atriopeptin has been recognized to be produced in the heart. And it's one of the most potent anti-stress hormone that counteracts the effect of cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone. Now, the way you perceive reality what I call it second attention in psychology, which means when a negative information approaches you, you are in this primitive response to fight back, to react.
Fight, flight, or
exactly.
Freeze.
Especially the 5F, 3F. So that is moreover in the male brain because we were hunters, males. The women were gatherers. They created language, society, they reared the next generation. They created civilization. And there is a hegemony even in science that it's the male who created civilization. It's not true. The male mind is not built for civilization, unfortunately. It is really barbaric, and you can see it in the media now with all the champions we have as our leaders now. So I'm not going to even go into that direction because that's a waste of space, to be honest.
Absolutely.
So,
well, I'm
trying to bring this into mainstream curriculum.
Yes.
IB
I believe
is
that you're
especially
already teaching in some
I do teach as well, and I work with IB, which is International Baccalaureate, which is a Swiss curriculum, and there is a particular program called Theory of Knowledge, and the Theory of Knowledge program is a 2-year diploma program, which supersedes any program in IB. And what is it? How do we know what we know?
Well, it's the theory of knowledge, right?
Yes. Don't take it for granted. It's called Socratic thinking, critical thinking. Criticize and be critical of everything, but empirically, not for the heck of it.
Exactly.
Merit-worthy, evidence-based, doubt, reason, question, and then you are bound to go and find how life on this planet works.
Well, as they say, seek and you shall find, right? So ask
Absolutely.
those questions and get those answers.
Yes. We can definitely have this conversation and never-ending conversation and on and on. As I said, earlier, we can just hear him talk and not just, but unfortunately there is a time limit and constraints to the show. And I really want to mention before we end this show is his upcoming new publication. Of course, you have another book published recently, and it has been about a year, which is Encyclopedia about the golden age of science and civilization in Islam. And I would really like to highlight this book. And
would you mind just
I had an opportunity, and this is the one book, and actually I am definitely going on Amazon and ordering my copy because I had an opportunity to actually go through its pages. It has beautiful illustrations with the pictures. And can you just tell us a little bit about this book? Because we had a great conversation about this book, but again, I really, I think we'll definitely have you back to talk more in detail about this. But for our audience, this is one thing that we want to know.
A takeaway from us
Takeaway from today.
It truly is beautiful, beautifully illustrated, and the depth of information in it is remarkable.
Absolutely.
It is the majority of Gabriel Iqbal's research over a vast number of years, all put together into this encyclopedia. And we do recommend that you, well, you know what? Yes, we do recommend it.
Absolutely.
And he is available on Amazon, so please go and check him out. He has a number of publications, Gabriel Iqbal, and I know that you will not be disappointed, especially for those of you who are philosophical, who are spiritual, who are scientific, not to categorize. And this is one thing, this is my takeaway from my conversation with Gabriel, that we do have a tendency to put things into neat little boxes because that's the way that we have been taught to store and interpret information, but it doesn't have to be the case.
Absolutely. So we will put all of this information on a Facebook page, and you can definitely find it. And if you want to connect directly with Gabriel Iqbal, you can find him on a Facebook, and there is a link below. You can find him through our The Mani and Fariha Show page also. Thank you very much, Gabriel, for being here with us today.
Delighted to be with you. Anytime.
Yes, and we will have you back because we have not even skimmed the surface.
No, we didn't. We haven't.
My pleasure.
Thank you for watching our show. Keep watching our show. Provide us with your feedback. We are always looking for your feedback and how we can improve our show. And of course, what would you like to see? This was one of, what we check.
Sometimes we have a tendency to indulge ourselves of what we want to see and hear. Yes. I know, totally. But nonetheless, we love your feedback, and we will have another wonderful show for you next week. And until then, goodbye and God bless.
Bye.
When you or your loved one is injured in a car or slip and fall accident, one of the most important decisions you're going to make is the lawyer that you hire. At Alam Law, we take pride in the fact that every person who calls for a free consultation speaks to one of our personal lawyers, not just a legal assistant or agent. Call Alam Law at 416-625-2636 for a free consultation. And remember, you do not pay anything unless I win your case.
रोशन मुस्तकबिल और अपनों का साथ जन्नत से कम नहीं। आप भी कनाडा को अपना घर बना सकते हैं। ग्रीन स्टार इमिग्रेशन सॉल्यूशंस के रेगुलेटेड कैनेडियन इमिग्रेशन कंसल्टेंट शहबाज अकबर के साथ मास्टर ऑफ बिजनेस क्लास इमिग्रेशन, एक्सप्रेस एंट्री, स्किल क्लास इमिग्रेशन, रेफ्यूजी क्लेम्स एंड फैमिली स्पॉन्सरशिप्स। सो कॉल नाउ एट 416-508-3989. Green Star Immigration Solutions Canada. It's never too late to follow your dreams. Haveli Grill and Hilltop Promotions, in association with Buzzmax.ca, proudly presents Punjabi Lok Virsa. Enjoy the live performance by the living legend of Patiala family, Ustad Hamid Ali Khan. With emerging folk talent Noora Lal at Hammerson Hall Living Arts Center, Mississauga on January 13th at 7 p.m. For tickets, call 905-306-6000 or 416-910-2355. Sponsored by Pakistan International Airlines and Sher Ata.
If you are looking for a reliable, professional, and affordable travel agency in your town, then your search is over. Global Travel and Tours is your personal travel partner. Our dedicated staff at Mississauga, Jeddah, and Islamabad is always ready to make your trip hassle-free, memorable, and cost-effective. We will assist you with hotel reservations, the transportation, visa assistance, and travel insurance. We are the #1 pilgrimage specialist for Hajj, Umrah, as well as ziyarat to Iran and Iraq. Global Travel and Tours is a one-stop solution for your travel, immigration, and Forex needs. We are IATA approved agents and an authorized Umrah agent. To book your holiday or Umrah package, please give us a call right now at 1-877-275-3555. We look forward to hearing from you.
जिंदगी के मुश्किल लम्हों में आपको चाहिए एक कॉन्फिडेंट और स्ट्रॉन्ग रिप्रेजेंटेशन जैसे सैयद एम रजा, पर्सनल इंजरी एंड लिटिगेशन लॉयर फ्रॉम सैयद लॉ। कार एक्सीडेंट या स्लिप एंड फॉल एक्सीडेंट की सूरत में साउथ एशियन कम्युनिटी की रिलायबल एंड स्ट्रॉन्ग रिप्रेजेंटेशन, यानी आपकी अपनी जुबान में साल साल से कम्युनिटी की खिदमत में पेश सैयद एम रजा, पर्सनल इंजरी एंड लिटिगेशन लॉयर फ्रॉम सैयद लॉ। अपॉइंटमेंट के लिए अभी कॉल करें 416-937-5046.